Hey everybody, there is the closing bell. It's great to be here with you today. Mike Fairport sitting in for Barb Armstrong, who is out. Happy to be here for after the close. And folks, today I wanted to take a look and really talk about, what can we do to kind of prepare ourselves for tomorrow? What might be moving? And what I wanted to do was really kind of look at strength. First of all, confirming that on a longer term scale, but also maybe a change that happened today on a number of stocks and how those stocks might be better positioned for tomorrow's opening or even into next week. So a lot of those might be breakout setups, but that's what I want to take a look at today. Good to be with you all, and welcome to everybody in the chat. I do recognize many of those names here, and it's great to be with you all. In fact, folks, as well, wanted to just say hello to Kathy Nguyen. Really appreciate Kathy being here in the chat. And folks, any questions, comments you might have, definitely throw those in so we can address those for you going forward. But yeah, thank you, Kathy, for being here. Great to have you all on board, folks. I'm looking forward to our discussion, diving on into it right now. We'll start off first, though, with a market discussion. But before that, let's hit some disclosure slides to get going here. All right, information here is for general information purposes only and should not be considered an individualized recommendation or endorsement of any particular security, chart pattern, or investment strategy. Options do carry a high level of risk. They are not suitable for all investors. Okay, some additional points listed there to be mindful of. Schwab does not recommend the use of technical analysis as a sole means of investment research. Some additional points. We are using the Thinkorswim paper money application. It's for educational purposes only. Now, investing does involve risk, including the loss of principal. Be mindful of that. Okay, backtesting is the evaluation of a particular trading strategy using historical data. And with the stop loss orders, they will not guarantee an execution at or near the activation price. In fact, once activated, they do compete with other incoming market orders. Finally, past performance of any security strategy does not guarantee future results or success. So having said that, let's go ahead and dive on in to our discussion right now and take a look at the markets. You can see I've got the S&P 500 index right there, folks, right there front and center. It is quite interesting. I have to say, those of you that have been in my class this week might recognize some of the lines that I do have on the chart. But yeah, that long-term line has been there for a little bit, but keeping tabs on it. That's the one right around 56.60. We did bounce off that a little bit today. There's a little bit of a historical precedence here, going back a little ways. And a lot of times if you're looking back historically long-term, like this, those can be interesting support or resistance levels for the possibility of a change in trend, a broader change in trend. If it's breaking a longer term support or resistance level, in this case, it may hold support. We did break back up above it here, but if I zoom in on that now, give you guys just a little bit better look at this. Here is the 6-month chart, and you can see how much we really kind of held right at that 56.60. I mean, basically 3-4 days in here, broke up above it, and now we're just kind of testing it again. So the fact of the matter is that we are above it. We could be looking at support here as well. Okay, wanted to throw into, I think, a moving average that I'm certain many of you do use, and I think a lot of the coaches have been talking about it. But just as a reminder, if you're not or you haven't seen it, let's just go ahead and get that corrected just to the 200-day moving average right there. So, we're kind of almost in a pinball sort of a scenario here with the market, maybe a little bit of resistance above and support below over a tighter range. And the whole idea here is, can we hold this level and kind of extend higher and making this really, truly kind of a support level, or the possibility, of course, and is the, possibility of a bear flag scenario where we might see something like that. That's the question. We don't know which of these scenarios are going to unfold, but we're watching it carefully. And a lot of times, maybe a long-term support level like this could be an interesting indication of that bounce. Okay, but one of the things I wanted to take a look at was something that I know many of the coaches do discuss. I look at it myself as well, and this is kind of going to be our theme today as we take a look at longer term strength, but also some shorter term strength as well, like real recent strength is what I wanted to focus in on. And that would be something along the lines of, I'll put it on the market here, on the market just initially so we can see it, but something like a 10 period moving average like this. Let's go to it right here. Just change up some colors so we can see it distinctly there. But you can see us right at the 10 period right here, just kind of maybe bouncing off that level. Now, sometimes when you are moving higher, it's getting above that 10 period moving average that a lot of price action can occur. Once you get above it, sometimes you can really kind of extend higher, and there's a lot of price action they can have once you break above it or hold above it. This support level over here, as you can see, we kind of held in that range, but I'm just kind of watching this closely because, as you can see, we did kind of hold it after we broke above it through last week, and then today we're just like right at it again. Now, there's nothing necessarily special about it, although I have seen historically, it's really kind of like a 2-week moving average. The whole concept here is, I want to get a little bit more data to show you. Notice we see a couple of things. We are above the 200 down here, like on some of these positions, and then we break above after a pullback, that shorter period, the 10 period. So we're getting the confirmation of maybe some longer term strength in this scenario, but then also maybe something that's a little bit more actionable for what we're looking for, possibly over a 3 to 10 day period of time, maybe a swing type trade. Just to zoom in on this and highlight it. When the range comes up, you'll notice, like I just mentioned, and I mean, you can look at a lot of different stocks. It certainly can be true with the market too, but there was a lot of price action that occurred once we, broke up above it, above the 200 as well, getting above the 10 period here and extending higher, pull back, kind of like a flag pattern, getting above it, extension back up, and yeah, I mean, that one continued up for a little while. But that's what I'm looking at and what I really wanted to talk about today specifically. I wanted to look at it in the market because we're not quite above the 200 here. The market's a little bit different, but there are a number of stocks that are clearly above the 200 and breaking above the 10 period moving average. And here's the kicker. Today, we're looking at a move that just crossed above the 10 period today. Wow. The stocks are above the 200-day moving average because, in this after the close class, we're saying, hey, well, what was, kind of unique today that might position us better for tomorrow in terms of the possibility of a breakout? That's where we're going with this class right now. So what I want to do is I'm going to come over here and let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and let me see this. Oh, I'm sorry. We can start off with the NASDAQ. That's fine. We're going to start from scratch, and I'm just going to highlight something that's very quick and easy to do for us right in the condition wizard. And once you guys get that down, it's just a good, quick way to get going on a lot of different sort of screens or scans in this case that would get us up to speed in finding out, something interesting that happened today, maybe a key indication of momentum that could continue off into tomorrow. A lot of these could be simply breakouts. So with that, let's go ahead and take a peek. First of all, where we're at. We are in the scan tab up top, sub-tab. This is the key point. You've got to be in the stock hacker right there, the stock hacker. So within that stock hacker, what we can do next is just go to our add filter right over here. And I'm going to go into study. It's the only thing we're looking at is a couple of different studies in here that are built just like that. I'm going to go ahead and click on a little pencil, and it populates on my secondary screen. So let me pull that up for you so you can see this. And what we want to do initially is go ahead and click on delete, because it does pull up just the ADX, which is just in alphabetical order up at the front, up at the top. All right, so our first condition is, let's just see if we can find long-term bullishness. And a good, quick, and easy way to do that is just, hey, is the stock currently above the 200-day moving average? So I'm going to click on a condition, and I'm going to just kind of try to spell this out as straightforward as it is. Price greater than moving average. So the first thing we're going to select under our condition is price. And it's the closing price. And here's is greater than kind of the action item. right? These are very important. They could do a lot of different things, but final condition is the study. So with that study, I'm going to go ahead and go right in here, simple moving average like we were looking at, and we're going to go down here. The only thing we're really going to change is the length, which is the 200. Right there. Now you can look at other indications too. In fact, if somebody wants a different indication or something along those lines, what I could do is when we could do a crossover too. The condition wizard, uh, very quickly we can set something like that up too. But this is just so easy to do. 200. Key point down here, you've got to scroll down, because if you don't scroll down and use that right-hand scroll bar, you will not see it. And I'm just going to go down here to the number of bars. Now, I just want to make sure that it's greater than the 200-day moving average as of now. And it is if we do it this way. So I'm going to click on Save right here. And now we're just simply saying, hey, price of the stock is going to be above. That is, so price is up here. It will be above a 200-day moving average. And now we want to take a look at the shorter term. So we're going to add one more condition in here. Gets a little bit different, but I'll show you here in a second. So here's price, closing price. The item here, the action item, is really crosses above. We need to make sure that it was, in other words, that means that it was below earlier today, but by the end of the day, price moved above it, whatever it is. In this case, what we're really talking about is that shorter term moving average. Okay, so let's go over here and let's click on that too. Here's the study. If you want to look up that study quick, all I'm doing is just clicking in the box and typing in. So there is simple moving average right there. Now, it was the 10 we were looking at. Now, some of you might be looking at a longer term move. Oh, I said 10, put in 20, but you can put in a longer term moving average if you wanted to. Sometimes when it gets above the 10, I mean, I know we like to try to catch these quicker, but sometimes you could do, within, 2 to 3 bars. I'm going to use 1 bar today. So we're going to kind of really create a really, really tight scan around, it just had to break above today. But if we were to do something like a 3, what that means is it could have happened, as it says within. That's the key word. It didn't always used to say within, but it could be within 1 day, 2 day, or up to 3 days, whatever number we put in. If we weren't getting a lot of results, that could be interesting, because sometimes it breaks above the 10 period moving average and you kind of consolidate a little bit and then go higher. But today we're really just kind of keeping it really quite tight with the 1 period moving average. I think it's an interesting and important distinction, just like the crosses above is as well. So let's go ahead and click OK here. Let's see, save that. So there are the 2 conditions right there. That is the actual code. If any of you are interested in writing code, we do teach a ThinkScript class, which I teach on Fridays. If you want to check that out, it is there, where we do go through some of the codes. But did a class a couple of weeks ago just on Condition Wizard, the Condition Wizard as well. But it's so easy to do, and it's so exact. When you put it in, it's very, very quick and easy. Let's go ahead and click on OK. The next thing we want to do is just determine what we want to look at. So up top, I've got scanning the NASDAQ 100. We can look at the S&P 500 as well, but I'm going to go ahead and click on scan here, and here are our stocks. We had a couple that were very close that I was watching today. I'm going to put both of those in as well. Just right before the class started, we have some that's right on the verge. We've only actually got one today, though, and that's AEP. That's showing up currently. Okay, so notice what happened here. The whole concept today is we're looking for something that may have happened that could be of interest into tomorrow. And you'll notice up top here, above the 200, that was our first checkpoint. We got that down. The second checkpoint above the 100, above the 10, and we've got that there. Now notice with me, a few things on the chart. We got past this, and you see also here, it looks to be like a pattern that you might have recognized. I think many of you do recognize and look for these patterns. We certainly do in swing trading and the other technical type classes, and you see them over here too. I mean, here's one here. There's one over here as well. The pullback, at least in terms of the portion of the flag. So folks, the whole idea here is, hey, what might happen tomorrow when you look at this? I'll start with this one first, but I'm going to zoom in on it right now. Now, do you see it? We had a bounce coming up here. We're actually getting to a little bit of a, well, I guess if I'm drawing it off the highs, we're not quite above there yet, but maybe something interesting to look at tomorrow if it does start to break. Now, I don't know if many of you are using this. Is anybody using? I'm just curious if anybody is using the alert for the drawing tool. I'm not sure if you guys knew this existed, but these are really quite helpful for, let's say, a trend line break, or you'd probably be watching it anyways. But here's a trend line break. I'm going to scoot. I just right clicked on the trend line, scoot on down to create alert with drawing, and there you go. You've got to flip this because the default is crosses below, which would be good for a trend line that's breaking down, right? In this case, that's not what we have at all. We've got one that might be breaking higher. And so I'm just going to say something like breakout, question mark, and then we can have it text us. So Jay Richardson, Brent Buffalo, Lola. Exactly. So good. Folks, if you're not using it like these other folks, what you can do, you go to setup up top, go to application settings, you can go to notifications, and then within notifications, you can put your phone number, well, your cell phone number in there, and it can text you. Those texts are about 3 to 5 seconds, I've noticed. Even those that are out there for like a year, I get them pretty quick. Hello to you, Robert Ricebird, as well. You guys have done that. Let's see, Josh. Yeah, it's awesome. You can do that, Josh, and you can actually do it too. Now, I'm on the demo account, but just as a quick note, you can do it on moving averages as well. There is a way to do it on the live account with moving averages. This demo account will do it here on the trend lines, and I think even like the paper money account will do it over breakouts above highs or lows. Anybody can do that one. This one's a little bit unique, but this is kind of relevant, to what we're looking at and what we found here today as to what might be interesting tomorrow. We'll see. I will say this to this point too. Look at the sideways range right here. There was a prior high right there. And a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times prices can kind of staircase up higher. In other words, what they'll do is they'll tend to rest on the prior high. And this can happen for a while, like something like that. And are we getting something like that right now on the support? We might be. We might be. We could certainly say that it's flagging. Is it a flag yet? Not until it breaks up higher and breaks above this high can we say that that was actually a flag pattern. But the setup's there for it. I mean, the general setup, the stronger move to the upside and the more mild correction. Now, we did a search on the NASDAQ 100, and how many stocks did we have come up? One. Grand total of one. Now, actually, before I ran it, though, we did have 3. So these are very, very close to the 10-period moving average. EXC also came up, Exelon. You can see it pulled back a little bit, but you see how this could also be maybe one of those patterns or scenarios or setups that traders are looking for the possibility of a breakout. We have some of the same sort of flag type kind of setup here in terms of the flag itself, or you've got the strong move to the upside. Really, really sort of light consolidation relative to the big run up. In other words, we're not giving back a lot. It's kind of forming like this little rectangle. And sometimes, not every time, these can be the strongest flag patterns. Of course, what are we missing? We're missing something major. I got to tell you, if we don't have that breakout, then nothing happens yet. But watching that breakout could be interesting. So a range up through here, just draw that in yellow, could be of interest. You can see where it was at, though. I'm going to zoom in because here was the 10-period right there, 10-period moving average. So it was wait a second. We are above. Why didn't that show? It should have shown because you guys tell me, but aren't we above it? Yeah, we are. Did it finally show up over here? No? NASDAQ. So that's so strange. Now, I was doing it, though. Here's the thing. I do some of my stuff, as I'm just looking at it in my other account. And so I'm just wondering, I don't know what happened exactly, but it did close above it. It's not showing up on the scan, but it did on my other. So you guys, you know, probably will be able to see it. I'd be curious to know if anybody did set up this scan just as I did here, and you did run it. I'm wondering if EXC shows up because technically, I mean, there's the close and there's the 10-period moving average, and we were looking at it today. Anyways, little side note there, but I will say this: did it find us another interesting, potentially interesting setup? Yeah, I mean, maybe only 3 out of 100, or 3% of the Nasdaq. There's one more I'll look at here, Nasdaq 100, but possibility of a breakout. Now we don't know how high it could break out, if in fact it does break out. But if this is a longer term flag, it can be helpful. I'm going to pull this down, pull it back out in time. You can see that some of these moves can be extensive. Here is a weekly chart. And why I do this is just to reference that longer term time frame. Multiple time frames can be helpful too. Kind of a big round number at 50. Sometimes stocks will bounce off 50 or 100 or whatever the case is. But yeah, I mean, could it be positioned for a run up there? If so, that's a pretty nice run from, where it's at right now, I guess. One thing to kind of consider and look at. Okay, the last one that did show up was MELI. Now, this one I think still is above the 10 period. Yeah, there's something going on, I think, with this versus maybe some of the other accounts, but I was able to pull it up. But okay, MELI, kind of a little bit different story. There was a clear breakout here. It looked like the earnings was quite positive. We bounced off the 200-day moving average, and there was kind of an extended move off the 200-day through here, and coming up. Yeah. We're above it. Now, question is, those prior highs over here, or maybe this high, could we start to see momentum coming up here? The one thing I will say, and I'm going to take this from my friend Kevin Horner, who's got the Horner rule, is what he says, and which is a fantastic concept, and that is can you close above, can you get a couple of days follow through here, which would make all the difference in the world possibly for a stock like this to go higher. So maybe we'll just kind of employ the Horner rule here for more indications if it is maybe positioning to go up a little bit higher. All right. Yep. Agreed. I think the moving averages are so helpful. In fact, let's do this too. Using the same moving averages that we've got right here, one long, and by the way, really, really quite long, and one really, really quite short. What can we do with a bigger basket of companies? Let's go right into the S&P 500 now. See what we're getting here. Okay, so yeah, 16 companies that pull up here. Let's go through some of these right now and see what we've got. Oh, Abbott Labs, huh? Okay. Remember, there was a move today, and it might be interesting tomorrow or later this week, and there it is. We just got above the 10-period moving average. Now, that's kind of a big move out of the gates. I don't know what the Horner rule would say here. He might say, hey, that's a big move coming out of the gates, because that is a big bar. And a lot of times, not every time, but notice over here with me on this bar, the bars that you got out of this base when you started to move, which is a consolidation phase for sure. But look at these bars. Those are bigger bars. I mean, that relative to what we're seeing here, and it was all to the upside too. So these are really quite small, but that's a big bar. That's a big upside move. In other words, a big candle. And just getting above and, well, yeah, bouncing off the 200-day over here. This still, a lot of these are showing with this kind of a scan, a lot of these are showing sort of this flag-ish type pattern. I would kind of consider that a flag-ish type pattern, especially if I'm going like up here, to the top, and then just stating that we're not even going below the 50% pullback, which is kind of one of those factors that a lot of traders will look at. Like, here's your high to here. They'll say, hey, you got to hold around the 50% level. And a lot of times it'll bounce like right at the 50%. I mean, it's kind of a Fibonacci number. We'll see. You've also got some volume here that ties into that. And yeah, so could that be positioned for a move tomorrow? Perhaps it maybe it ready to bounce. Zimmer Holdings. This is one that is. Let's see. This is a medical devices company. There's a couple other ones like Stryker. There's Medtronic is another one. These are the big three. It's one of these popping up here. So they make like hip replacements and things along those lines. I don't know if that's their specialty, but I think they do that. Okay, so what is this showing? It's a little bit different. What I'm seeing over here is more like still interesting for potentially tomorrow, but look at this. If I draw a sideways channel through here, well, it's actually all through here, through that entire range. And if we come off the bottom here, I think I'm going to go with 100 right off the lows. And if I call this the MM, that's referred to as our measured move potential. In other words, the measured move, if we look between this range, falls right in about 15 points. There's 100 up to 115. Now, what makes this intriguing is, I mean, it's quite a large range, and we've been within that range for some time. And sometimes when ranges consolidate over a period of time in the market, a lot of times what traders will look for is that explosion of upside movement or volatility. In this case, we might be looking at upside volatility. It could do either one, but let's just say, it's been making progress. Look over here. This is a higher low, higher low, higher low. Sometimes that's how you engage a big resistance level with perhaps more success. Some traders will say, you're inching up higher on the verge of breaking. Have we broken out yet? No, but that's something we can watch for tomorrow or even into next week. And that would actually give us time to look into this company a little bit more and see what's going on. I can tell you over here, we did miss, excuse me, it looks like we were down with earnings, but there seems to be some pretty big volume buying in here to put us back up to this level. And sometimes you get, a bad earnings report, but yet the guidance is higher. And I don't know if you can get, by the way, the other earnings is right there, but if you can get good earnings, that's sometimes how you get above a long-term resistance level. That measured move is 15 points. If we take this same range, it's going to be easy to do because it's like right at 115. We just go up another 15 points, the measured move range puts us somewhere near that annual high of about 130. But, it hasn't broken out yet. But like I said, it could be something that we could keep eyes on into next week. I have to put a question mark there, but still of interest. Let's go a little bit longer term chart on this one too and see. It's been my understanding that some of these companies have been, that's a sideways channel. Well, okay, excluding this, that's a big area that's not sideways. That's a big, big move, obviously. But if I were to go over here and just say that 100 is actually a pretty big number. Sometimes, stocks can bounce off that 100. It doesn't have to be, but I've just noticed over the past, honestly, a couple decades being in the market, 100, 250, even 150. As I say that, you can kind of see some of the moves around 150. We didn't get quite to 200 here, but that's a big number. It's like the century market. Yeah, I got 100. Let me just draw some lines through here, and you guys tell me if you see anything, any activity. I realize there is that big dip there. Keep in mind that is the COVID, and I would expect that to happen there. But look at that, and this is a weekly chart, so that's weekly. And these are fairly big bounces when it decides to go higher, that is, off that level. So just if we just look at just that only, just cut everything out of our minds and just say, well, look at that 100 here. That's a fairly big bounce. That's a 30-point move, to be honest with you, off that bottom. That wasn't quite there, but we got close. This was certainly right there. But another 30-point move. I'm going to ignore this altogether. But let's go back here. When we hit off of the 100, there was a bounce up to about 120-ish. The second time, there's your 130. There's your 130. Will we get a 120? Will we get a 130 if in fact it breaks out? It's just had a tendency to do that. Just looking at that longer term chart can be of interest. One thing I want to do though, let's do this too while I've got this up. Here is for us if I can draw that. We're still in a little bit of a downtrend. But you notice if I go back to the daily chart and I say that those were the highs right there, it would simultaneously kind of break prior highs and at the same time maybe break through this trend right here coming down. I don't know. I mean, it's like it's right there. We don't know if it will break out now or not. We could just say that one thing we can say that our search found for us, not our church. Our church didn't find this for us, but our search did. Our scan it's just above the 10-period moving average, and we know that historically a lot of companies, when they get above the 10-period, they might be set for a bounce. And I want to explore that with you too. I was just able to do chat in Kevin's class previously. He did such a great job of just kind of exploring, moving into the future on certain areas. If you were to get a breakout or a move, this was one of those moves right there that happened to break up a little bit higher. And I wanted to just highlight this. And I'm just doing this on the fly here to kind of show you that sometimes when prices are moving, I mean, there's a break above the 10. I realize, it wasn't ultra clean. There was a couple of different tests, 1, 2, 3, which is actually kind of a triple bottom. Happened pretty short term, but once you actually got that third time was kind of the charm there. Once you broke above here, just step back and look at the price activity that was able to unfold getting above it. I'm going to draw a line right over there. And that's about 107, I guess. And right over here, before you actually began to close below that line, was here, about 20. So just the moving average alone, bouncing off that support level, had, as you can see, right through, I was going to just point to it right there, had some pretty significant price movement to the upside that was not, okay, if you're just using a moving average like that, you guys tell me, isn't that fairly easy to keep an eye on? I mean, in terms of a potential exit level, looking at that. Some of you might, if you set, say, for example, a stop around that level, as we talked in the disclosures, the stop's not guaranteed, to get you out. It competes with other market orders, but I'm just saying some people might set a stop around that level and just watch it and see if prices are going up or not. I mean, I don't know. When I first saw that, I said, gosh, that seems like an easier way to do it. It's certainly simplified staying in the chart, staying in the potential paper trade, as prices are going higher. It just is. It's just, hey, is price above the line or is it not? And that's really what it boils down to when you're getting that signal. And that's brings us back to where this search got us here today, right there. Now, we don't want to ignore the fact, I should say, that we are at resistance. So just because we're above the 10, I don't know about you guys, but I've never, well, when I first started trading, I would actually buy, right at resistance, not thinking about it, but that's resistance. So this is kind of like a clue in. It's like, hey, there might be something here. There might be a measured move, 100 to 115. But the real kind of indication is getting above that level and maybe closing above it. And sometimes traders will look for a close, even like a couple of days higher, So I wanted to share a couple of these with you guys today. I wanted to show you this as well because I created this because there was a lot of attention being drawn to the condition wizard. And just if you go to the Trader Talks webcast, you can get great content from all of our coaches through here. I'm just going to highlight the one that I know is here that I did myself. It was just under, now it's under ThinkScript. So let me just, find that real quick. There it is. So ThinkScript Studies, and it was this one right here, because I think this could expand your guys' horizons if you like the concept of utilizing the condition wizard. It's number 2 in the list right here. It's just 5 condition wizard gems. And we extend out on it, and certainly some that you could add to our discussion today. I'll click on this. In fact, I'll just do this. Copy the link address. Let me know if this doesn't work, you guys, but this should be fine. This should work if you want to take a look at it. The thing with the condition wizard is it can be so easy to do, and the thing I love about it, probably the most, is it's so exact. I spent a lot of time building code in this class, and yeah, it's not as clean as the condition wizard in a lot of cases. So, and easier to do too. It's not as extensive, but like I said, sometimes the easier codes, simple moving average, the more easy it is, can actually be quite helpful, easy to track, easy to follow, and give fairly interesting setups that some traders might look for. Let's look at one more in here and just see what we've got. I'm curious what we see. So eBay, okay, eBay and J&J. So a healthcare plus eBay. We can look at a couple of these. Definitely encourage you guys to go ahead and to look at these, as we've got them set up in here, to go through and whatever comes up. If you built the scan with me, certainly feel free to go in and take a look at that. So there's eBay right there. Oh, okay. So eBay's just sort of in a sideways channel. The one thing you can watch for on a stock like this, it's been sort of sideways and it's been dragging into kind of a bit of a range, is that does sort of form like a coil. It's kind of like you're at a picnic and you've got a watermelon seed and you squeeze it. Now, that watermelon seed's going to move with some force. It's going to go up or down. We don't know the direction. It could go either one, but a lot of times when we're talking about stocks, they tend to go, not in every case, they can tend to go in the direction of the underlying trend. And it looks like that trend is up. Do you guys agree? I mean, this is certainly a higher low. And I believe we just came off, well, those are annual highs. Those are yearly highs. Just last month, we hit an annual high. And so this is a form of a sideways range. We got past earnings. We're right back up into it again. And this could be interesting too for the possibility of an extension move higher. So I think these are really sort of essential ways to look, utilizing moving averages as well. Look at that. So J&J's in there. And if we're looking at it, does this not too fit kind of the scenario of a bullish type flag? There's a big run up to the upside. There's your consolidation there. And yes, the scan pulled it up. It just broke barely above. Price is greater than the 10 DMA. Okay, so might we follow up again? We could. It looks like we might have been in a super long-term channel over here. The possibility of a measured move could easily fit in here as well, if it will be a measured move. Let's throw out a weekly here. Let's get, oh, yeah. So, in other words, there is the possibility of a week measured move, and I just wanted to see if there was kind of a history of some sideways channel in here. We don't know if it will be a measured move. I just wanted to see if there was resistance and support below here on a longer term basis, and I think I'm saying that measured move might put us close to that prior high, which is right around there. So, all right, everybody. Well, hopefully you found this informative. I think these are very important points to look at, particularly if we are looking at what might happen into the next day, into next week, because the next day is just Friday. Right, so we just have one day, but maybe even some of these scenarios and setups could unfold into the next week, folks. Do me a favor, smash that like button if you found this effective and helpful, as well as we'd love to have you subscribe to. Again, if you are interested in those some additional insights there in terms of the condition wizard, I go through basically an extensive rundown on that on this right there. And if there's anything else, I do a number of condition wizard screens through there. Here is just the general link for it if you might find that effective. But all right, everybody. Well, it was great being with you, and it was a pleasure to sit in again for Barb. I'm sure she's having a great time. She does a lot of great traveling. And with that, thank you so much, Kathy, for your help in the chat. Spot on with everything, and really appreciate it. And as Kathy mentions, please, yeah, be sure to hit that like and subscribe. With that, everybody have a fantastic rest of the evening. We'll see you next time.